Hey everyone, I'm Lisa Pickering, and welcome to the 10 Most Fascinating People of Bermuda 2016. This season was all about the people's choice, and thanks to your nominations, we've put together a list of 10 individuals who left you wanting to know more. Remember, the list is in no particular order, save for the final person, who we will reveal as 2016's Most Fascinating Person at Bermuda.
What makes someone fascinating? This is the 10 Most Fascinating People of Bermuda 2016, sponsored by One and Mod Blue Boutique, hosted by Lisa Pickering.
Tawana, Tannock, and helping people have always gone hand in hand. After holding careers as a high school teacher, probation officer, Crown Counsel, and private sector lawyer, she was appointed chairwoman to the Human Rights Commission in 2016, a plentiful year for human rights issues locally and globally. Tawana shares how her diverse experiences have given her the skills to help people battle the wrongs they feel they faced. Now, at the beginning of the year, you said human rights have been at the forefront of Bermuda's imagination for the last 3 years. Over the last year, have you seen it move more into a reality as opposed to the imagination?
I can't think of any other time since I've served that human rights has been so highly debated and been at the forefront of everybody's mind. When I look at the World Gazette interview, I had no idea how this year was going to shape out. And I have to say that I think that the new set of commissioners and the HRC staff have faced the scrutiny and a lot of the public battles that we've had with poise and confidence. And I hope that we can continue to be on the forefront of people's minds, and that, like I said, with the increase in complaints, that people know that we're there and they know we're there to help all of Bermuda. Because I think a lot of the concerns that people have is that, oh, you focus on one issue more than the other. And I think it's really a misconception. Most of our investigations are actually done perhaps in the employment context, which I think a lot of people are not aware of. And it's normally, we see a lot of discrimination, allegations of discrimination because of country of origin, or allegation of discrimination because of race, allegation of discrimination because of your status, so it could be you're pregnant. And I don't think that people realize that. I think that when people see whatever is the most public topic of the day, they think, oh, that's what you're focused on, without realizing that there is a whole gamut of issues that we're out to address.
You said there's 2 successes this year. Let's talk about them.
We've had multiple successes. I like to get that. But,
many.
We have the Human Rights Amendment Act of 2016, number 2. That was the act that extended the area of disability from just physical disability to saying that if you have a mental disability, if you have a mental health issue, then you cannot be discriminated against because of your mental health issue. Because prior to 2016's amendment, if you had a mental health issue, you could be treated differently from a colleague who had a physical ailment when you're both ill. Section 8 of the Human Rights Amendment Act number 2 has also been changed, and what that means is before you could only be found guilty of discrimination if you discriminated against somebody in writing by saying something about their race, right? So we had cases where people were being slandered because of their sexual orientation, because of their political belief, because of, any other grounds, but there was nothing that could be done about it because it wasn't prohibited, and that's changed. So our other success was educating the government and advocating for the government not to pass the Human Rights Amendment Act number 1. And that would have been the act that sought to amend our actual Human Rights Act to say that marriage should stay between a man and a woman. And I think a lot of our position actually got lost in the press and it got lost in the public. Once you start touching actually that act, you can carve out anything you want. And that something that distinctly is aimed at removing rights from people or discriminating against people has no place in the Human Rights Act. And so I think educating members of the public and educating the government on why the Human Rights Act was not the appropriate place to put that amendment was a great success.
Were you disappointed on the outcome of the same-sex referendum?
Well, I was disappointed. We were disappointed that there was a referendum to begin with. Matters of human rights should never be up to a public vote, because by virtue of the fact that people are discriminated against means that probably they're in a minority. And any vote is always going to go to the way of the majority. And so I think that the referendum was not the way to proceed on this issue. The results were, I wouldn't say unexpected, but they were, of course, disappointing because you want to see some growth of people. And actually, what you really want to see is for people to say, you know what, even if this is not something that I agree with, I understand that this is somebody else's life. And I have no right to make a decision on what somebody else can do that doesn't involve me.
What would you like to see happen in the future when it comes to the same-sex debate?
We would like to see the government give the same rights to same-sex couples that different sex couples currently have.
Have you always been someone who wants to fight for people?
Yes, always. Yeah, I've always said that I believe in community involvement and volunteering in some respect. And so even when I finished teaching, then I started to volunteer at the adult education school. And so I've always done something that would allow me to be an advocate and a voice for other people. I've had people say this to me, oh, well, you know, if that person's not going to speak up for themselves, why should I help them? But we don't understand why that person isn't speaking up. Maybe it's because they're so used to not being heard that they feel that their voice has no value. What can we do to make the community better? What can we do to make Bermuda better? And it isn't everybody's individual battle. It's getting together and saying these are wrongs that have to be righted, and I'm willing to fight this battle.
And in terms of backlash, we talked about that previously, but can you just talk a little bit about the backlash you personally feel for being part of the commission?
Sure, I can. And, you know, I think I mentioned to you that it's very uncomfortable to talk about that because you don't want to seem to be putting on a victim hat or in a victim role, but you are not always doing something right in somebody's eyes or mind. And people generally feel free to come up to you, and it's a very public office, but as you know, it's volunteer as well. So you have to say to people, listen, we are doing the best that we can. We represent the community, and we think that we have commissioners that represent every facet of the community so that we have a wide view. But it's difficult when you're walking down the street and people shout expletives at you, or on the other hand, shout prayers at you, because it doesn't seem like they're doing it out of the kindness of their hearts, really. It just seems, that they're trying to manipulate you in one way or the other to make a choice that they would like. Or, I've had instances where they've come up to family members and been disrespectful to members of my family because of decisions that I've spearheaded as the chairperson of the Human Rights Commission. And that's not the Bermuda that I think that we want to live in.
Overall, how do you think Bermuda fares in the grand scheme of things when it comes to human rights?
I think we're pretty progressive. I honestly do think we're pretty progressive. And I think a lot of people would disagree with that. But I can tell you, when we went to the Foreign and Commonwealth Office in September, we were with 11 other dependent territories who were just in awe of the development of our legislation, of our tribunal system. We were the only dependent territory that actually heard human rights cases through the Human Rights Commission, that had the extensive Human Rights Act that we had.
What would you like to see happen in the new year when it comes to human rights in Bermuda?
Well, we would definitely like to see the government look at the issue of age discrimination. We also think that our Constitution from 1968 is a bit outdated. It needs to be amended. Currently, under the Constitution, there is no protection for discrimination against because of your gender. So you and I could be discriminated simply because we're women under the Constitution.
Right.
But fortunately, the Human Rights Act of 1981 sort of fixes the holes in the Constitution, which is why we were so adamant that it shouldn't be amended to allow for discrimination. Minister Fay mentioned this maybe earlier this year, but the government looking into having an independent tribunal system, which is also something that the Human Rights Commission has pushed for a while. So looking at how to ensure that we have a tribunal system that can work more efficiently for Bermuda and its citizens.
Don't forget to tune in every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right here on BurNews.com to find out who else made the list of the 10 most fascinating people of Bermuda 2016.